Enjoy.
Ladies and gentlemen, please be seated. Ladies and gentlemen, the 62nd Superintendent of the United States Naval Academy, Vice Admiral Ted Carter, United States Navy.
Well, good afternoon and welcome back to Annapolis. How exciting to see all of you back. Our relationship started on 1 July of this summer, just a mere 45 days ago. And to think of all the things that have happened over this summer. Each and every one of you should be so proud. There's going to be so much that's going to happen here over the next 4 years, but I would submit to you that today will be one of the highlights of your emotional journey with your son and daughter. I'm so thankful that you made the trip from all 50 states, from every occupied territory of the United States, and from some international countries. You know, you have a glossy program that talks about the class of 2019, and as a regimental commander said, Midshipman Maselli, how well the class of 2016 did in leading your plebes throughout the summer. And there's some amazing statistics in that program. But I want to just give you a couple of points for context because it's hard to compare one class to another as we go throughout the years. But make no mistake about it, the class of 2019 is leading the way. You know, we're about to celebrate 170 years as a Naval Academy this October 10th. And the class of 2019 in their short time with us has already separated themselves from many, many others. First of all, they had the highest median SAT scores of any class in the history of the Naval Academy to come here. They represent the greatest diversity. Yes, please, yes, your class. They represent the greatest diversity of any class we've ever seen. And that's through many ways to measure diversity, whether it be geographically, culturally, through gender. It's rather remarkable. They're getting to, the classes at the Naval Academy are getting closer and closer to be a true representation of the United States of America. Over the course of this summer, they've done some test validation for courses that they've taken, whether they have been at prep school, college, high school, and they've validated already over 2,500 courses. Now that number is still growing, and I don't know that that will actually be the record, but it'll either be in the top or the record of any class that's ever come here. And then just this Thursday, they took their final physical fitness test throughout the summer. Now, a lot of you know how hard that your sons and daughters worked when they came here initially. When they took their initial physical fitness test, only 53% of them passed. Now you're wondering, was that a good number? It was not the best. On Thursday, 96.9% of the freshman class passed. And the combined men's and women's average run time was the fastest in Naval Academy recent history since we've been tracking that. So rather remarkable. So just a few weeks ago, July 1st, you said goodbye to your sons and daughters right here. There's been some interesting things happen since then. Some got their first haircut, pretty happy about it. Some not so much. We've had them read some really great books. This thing called Reef Points, you can ask them. There's about 1,000 facts and factoids in there that they can repeat verbatim now. They've learned how to salute. We've had them up early for stretching in the morning, and as I mentioned, they've gotten pretty good at running. They've learned how to march, and in fact, you'll see tomorrow at the parade, they'll not only be marching with rifles, they're going to have bayonets attached. That's a dangerous evolution that they have mastered. They've done some team building exercises like sailing, learning how to bring out their warrior spirit, how to operate in boats as teams, overcome obstacles, and for many of them reaching heights that they would never imagine they could have ever reached. But now, plebe summer is all but over. And as you might imagine, with 1,178 in the plebe class of 2019, they outnumbered the seniors, or the detailers as we call them, by 8-1 during the course of this summer. But when the brigade returns, they will be outnumbered 3-1 by the upperclassmen. So they're very aware of that. But they have had an amazing summer. In fact, we always wonder how the plebes are going to understand the mission set that we have for them when they come here. And this year we had 13 of the freshman class decide this wasn't the place for them. They voluntarily said after coming here that they didn't want to be here anymore. That's the second lowest attrition we've ever had in the history of the Naval Academy. We've had a real summer here. And more amazingly, for the first time in the history of the Naval Academy, 0 women left this summer. 0. All 324 of the women who raised their right hand on I Day are still here. It's pretty amazing. Now, we don't rest on our laurels here at the Naval Academy. They are about to enter into their freshman year, their plebe year, and I want to talk a little bit about what's in front of them. In fact, our whole lineup of speakers here is going to talk a little bit about this next year because this is a critical year of success for them. And it's similar to building a ship. Just as we brought them in here and over the summer, we try to teach them new ways to think, understand new ways of understanding dignity and respect for each other and their classmates, get in the best shape that they could be in their lives. Now they're going to go into much more of the moral, mental, and physical aspects of the Naval Academy mission set. And we will challenge them. This will not be easy for them. And just as you build a ship, you build the frame first. So they're going to see a lot of that framing this year as they learn to stand watch, take mandatory courses in things like cyber and physics and English and history. They'll be exposed to athletics. Each and every one of them will be an athlete here. This is the highest number of varsity athletes coming out of high school we've ever had in the history of the Naval Academy. You see it in your program, 92%. That's the biggest number ever. We're going to expect a lot out of them athletically. And it will all culminate with the decks of the ship being finished, the guns, the armament, all being put to that ship called a plebe, when in May you all come back to see your plebes climb the Herndon Monument. And then they will begin to transition to things like summer cruises and learning about what professional training they can be exposed to so that they can start to make the decisions about what are they going to do after graduation. And of course, in May of 2019, one of the greatest days of any parent will be that graduation ceremony. And that will be a very exciting day, and it'll go by very fast. So even though your plebes are not necessarily thinking about after commissioning, I'd like to make just a couple of points here so that you are aware that this school is not about just getting to this picture right here, not just this scene, but it's about getting commissioned to go be an unrestricted line officer in the Navy and the Marine Corps. So here at the Naval Academy, my target is to try to graduate 1,000 newly commissioned officers every year. And you know we brought in 1,178. I've already told the plebes that there isn't one of them that won't be able to graduate. I expect to see all of them graduate. And we'll find a good place for them. But what is it that they have an opportunity to do? And I'm just going to give you a couple of quick slides here to show you what's around the corner. But before I do that, I want to mention the class of 1969. Class of 69 is the 50-year link in the chain, partnered with the class of 2019, 50 years separated, and they will be with them every step of the way. The class president, Mike Michaelis, where are you, Mike? Somewhere here in the crowd. There's about 10 of the class of 69 here. They will be here for the Herndon climb, when they get their rings forged, when they graduate, and they will help mentor them and understand these different warfare areas that are out in front of them. Class of 69, when they graduated, went directly into the world with the Vietnam War going on. They're going to have an amazing perspective. And they're linked in so many ways. When I was a plebe here in the summer of 1977, my company officer, Major Jeff Pomeroy, graduate of the class of 69, is here today as well. So we're all connected to the class of 69, as are all of you now in the class of 19. The Navy Marine Corps team, we produce about 33% of the commissioned officers for the United States Navy and about 25% of the Marine Corps officers entering into service. About 200 of the class out of roughly 750 out of the 1,000 graduates will go into surface warfare, driving Arleigh Burke destroyers, littoral combat ships, cruisers, nuclear qualified officers to power our aircraft carriers. About 135 will go into submarines. This past year, we sent 15 women into the submarine force. That, of course, will still be available and across the entire submarine force to include enlisted women. Naval aviation. Now, when I talk naval aviation, there's a Navy picture up there with an aircraft carrier, but don't be just confused by that. The Marine Corps is part of this, too. And this is probably one of the misunderstood facts about the Naval Academy. Well over one-third, in fact, last year, about 36% of the class gets an aviation cockpit seat between Navy pilot, Navy flight officer, Marine Corps pilot, and Marine Corps NFO. That's a significant part of the class. So as you read and see things talking about unmanned things flying off aircraft carriers, there are going to be a requirement for helicopters, jets, anti-submarine warfare airplanes to do this mission set. So a very important part of the Naval Academy service assignment. Explosive ordnance disposal. These are the men and women who take care of the improvised explosive devices, do scuba diving, deep diving, clear our piers, as well as do parachute jumps. A relatively small portion of the class, about 15, will go into EOD, men and women. Special warfare, one of the most popular service selections. We'll average more than 100 in the class that will want to do this, and we'll probably pick somewhere close to about 30 per class. So very competitive. The Naval Academy enjoys the highest success rate of anybody attempting to become a Navy SEAL. The Navy still sees about a 75% failure rate for officer enlisted that go into the SEAL programs. Naval Academy graduates, well over 90% are successful. So we have a very good formula with how to do this. Last year, for the first time, we took fully physically qualified midshipmen, commissioned them as ensigns, and put them into the Intelligence or Information Dominance Corps and made them cyber warriors. This is significant. It lines up with our cyber major, our cyber courses, and this trend will continue. So that will be available in probably bigger numbers as the years go on. So your sons and daughters may be very motivated to want to be part of this solution set. And of course, the Marine Corps. Last year we made 270 Marine Corps second lieutenants. Again, about 25% of the class, and about 25% of all second lieutenants being commissioned in the Marine Corps. About 1/3 go into aviation and 2/3 go ground, artillery, and infantry primarily. And of course, aviation. I put this picture here because the Joint Strike Fighter F-35B was just listed as being operational last week by the Marine Corps. So this will be a platform that your sons and daughters will be flying. You know, the last thing I said to you when I saw you on the 1st of July was thank you for entrusting us with your sons and daughters. I wanted you to know that we take care of your sons and daughters. We take that responsibility very seriously. I'd like to tell you that as I stand here before you today with the end of plebe summer, I believe we have done that. But again, we're just getting started. As I tell my faculty, staff, and coaches, our job is to inspire these young men and women to do these wonderful tasks that we're going to ask them to do to protect our nation. But to do that, we have to be inspired. You are now part of that team. Over the next few hours, you're going to have to do a lot of listening to hear all the stories that they're going to want to tell you over this summer. But keep the long view. What they choose to do over the next 4 years, and whether they serve for 5 years, 10 years, or 40 years, will be tremendously influenced by each and every one of you that are in this room. You are now part of the Naval Academy family. And on behalf of myself, as your superintendent, my wife Linda, we are looking forward to being partners with you in this wonderful journey that your sons and daughters are about to embark. Congratulations. God bless all of you for being here, and God bless the class of 2019.
And for those of you who are coming to Annapolis for the first time, welcome to the United States Naval Academy. I echo Admiral Carter's words in welcoming the class of 1969 as the 50th link in the chain class to the class of 2019. Those men from the class of 1969 have already started to form that bond with your sons and daughters. They were here on I-Day. They watched them get inducted in T-Court. They were here the first parade that they marched on Morden Field. And obviously they're here today. They were also here during the summer as we go through and educate the fourth class in the honor system. The class of 1969 came here and delivered a lecture to them on what it means to be a leader of honor, and then presented them with an honor coin while they were here. I know that they're fully committed to staying intertwined with your sons and daughters over the course of the next 4 years in their careers as they go forward. 1969 has already asked when Herndon is, so they're making arrangements to be here. So you will see these men throughout your sons and daughters' time here at the Naval Academy. So thank you, 69, for being here. Okay, this is one of my favorite photos of the summer. And you can see the intensity that the class of 2016 brought to the field. But if you look into that pleb's eyes, he's moving forward. I mean, there's pressure there and there's some intensity, but his eyes are clearly on the prize, and he knows that there's something bigger and something better waiting for him beyond this, and he's going to move forward and go after it and attack it. That's why I love that photo. All right, so this was back on July 1st, and this was probably the last time your sons and daughters actually got to sit down for more than a few minutes. It was a hot day, and it was a hot summer here in Annapolis. Over the course of the last 6 weeks, they've all run over 100 miles. You saw the video, and you got to see some of that. They've literally done thousands of push-ups out there. Those of you who were at PEP this morning got to see Major Antonelli putting them through their paces. But those push-ups weren't just done out there on that PEP field. They've been working again with the class of 2016 up there in Bancroft Hall. They've spent a lot of time in the pool. They're getting good at swimming. As naval officers, that's important. We're teaching them how to fight. Martial arts. They've gone through 5 periods of instruction in martial arts, and that'll continue throughout their 4 years here at the Naval Academy. Again, that physical toughness and conditioning is an important part of an officer's development. We put them in some uncomfortable positions. They all learned to climb on the rock wall. We had them run the obstacle course. That's the actual obstacle course that U.S. Marines run. We had them run an endurance course across the river. Some people will tell you, and they'll look at the attrition statistics from this summer, and they'll tell you that was because plebe summer was easy. I can tell you that the physicality of plebe summer now is greater than it was in many years past. The number of events that we put them through and the things that they do absolutely tell me that plebe summer is not an easy process. And that low attrition rate is not because plebe summer has been dumbed down. We made it tough, and they succeeded. You can see the photo here. That's them out at the squad conditioning course out on Hospital Point, doing physically tough things and learning to work as a team. You see them on the high ropes and the confidence course. Another important part of the summer was introducing them to the maritime environment and teaching them giving them an introductory base of knowledge of what it means to become a naval officer. So they all learned to sail this summer. You've seen the footage of them going through damage control training, which is important. It's a skill that naval officers need to have. But the more important reason we teach them damage control is because if a ship gets hit, we continue to fight. And that's an underlying idea that we try to instill in all of our graduates. You're going to get hit at some point during your 4 years here, and once you get out into the fleet, you will get hit and you will suffer setbacks. But when you hit that point and when you hit that moment, that's when you pick yourself up and you continue to fight and press forward. And that's why we teach them damage control training here during the summer. They've all learned how to handle weapons. So they fired both the pistol and the rifle, again, across the river. They spent a lot of time on drill, as the superintendent pointed out. You'll see the formal parade tomorrow. When they march with those bayonets tomorrow, one of the maneuvers that they will perform is they're actually going to fix bayonets out on Warden Field. Now, to you, that may not seem important, that may not seem like a big deal, but it is a technically complex maneuver. There's a little bit of risk involved because you're putting a bayonet onto a rifle while you're standing out on the field, and it's something that the Academy, for whatever reason, had gotten away from. We reintroduced it this year, and 2019 is the first class in at least 8 years to have done that, and they're pretty proud of it. Again, you'll see it tomorrow, and you can ask them about it today when you talk to them. They spent a lot of time here in Alumni Hall. You saw some of the character lecture, the character development series, where we brought in outside speakers, again, to introduce them to what it means to become leaders of character. The underlying idea throughout the summer has been positive pressure with a purpose. Yes, it's been difficult, but it's been difficult for a reason. And the reason has been to prepare them for what comes next, and that's to rejoin the brigade. They transition from young men and women coming from all parts of the country on I-Day, again, moving towards Herndon at the end of plebe year, becoming members of the upper class, and ultimately moving towards that graduation moment in May of 2019. Okay, so let's talk about what you really want to hear about now. Plebe summer, Parents Weekend, what are we doing on Liberty? Okay, the plan, when we're finished here, we're going to move down to Bancroft Hall, and you can all stay in place. They're not doing that formation without the superintendent and without me there, so you're all good. At the end of that formation, the regimental commander is going to dismiss the class, and they're going to depart ranks, and they will rejoin you there on Stribling Walk, similar to the way that they found you after the induction ceremony. Once that happens, they'll take you up into their company areas where they have to go up to sign out on leave, or sign out on liberty. The real event there is you're going to get a chance to see their rooms, you're going to get a chance to meet their roommates and their roommates' families, and you're going to get a chance to meet the detailers who worked with them this summer, as well as their company officers and their senior enlisted leaders who have been part of their development throughout the summer. So take advantage of it. They may not want to spend a lot of time in Bancroft Hall, but you absolutely need to get up there and see who they've bonded with this year, and realize that those families that are in those rooms with your plebes, there are connections being made that are going to last a lifetime. Some of the people that they've met this summer will be there on the day that they're married, and they'll be there throughout their lives, and you now have a chance to gain a window and a perspective into those new important relationships that they're forming. So that's what happens today. Once they get up into the company area, they're going to get their cell phones back. If you don't want them to have their cell phone, you can take it away from them. I authorize you to take that phone. But then tonight, I need you to have them back by 2200. We're going to bring them back tonight by 2200. And the reason for that is tomorrow training continues. They're going to be out there doing PEP again, and we have a formal parade tomorrow, so we can't have them out too late tonight. Tomorrow, after the formal parade over on Warden Field, they'll get back to Bancroft Hall. They've got to put away their weapons. They'll get into their summer whites again, and then tomorrow's really the long day of liberty, if you will. They have until 23:59 tomorrow night. And as you hear these times and when they need to be back, realize that it can get congested trying to come through that gate as you get late in the evening. So build that into your planning and what you're going to do with your plebes. And then on Sunday, they'll be released early. They'll be released at 0800. And the idea is there you'll have the opportunity to attend chapel services here on the Academy if you want, or you can go out and worship out in town, or you'll just have Sunday morning to spend with your plebes. And then Sunday, you have them all day until 1800. They need to be back here by 1800, again, because training continues, and they'll be back in here that night for another character lecture. So that's it for the weekend in terms of their military obligations. The basic rules for the plebes are they're confined to what we call the Tri-City area. So it's defined as Annapolis, D.C., Baltimore, that region. They need to stay there. They can't drive, and they can't drink, even if they're 21. So I just ask you to support those rules and helping to teach them good habits as they get ready to embark and really go on their first liberty as midshipmen. Some important dates for the semester ahead. Obviously, the superintendent talked about it. The brigade returns next week. We call that reform, and that's where things change. We transition from plebe summer over to plebe year. The two are not the same. During plebe summer, they're marched and walked everywhere, constantly by detailers. Once plebe year starts and we get into academic year, and the first day of classes is coming soon, it's a week from Monday, 24 August, they're going to have a lot more personal decision-making that they're going to be responsible for. They're going to have a lot of requirements, but they're going to start picking and choosing how they use their time and how they apply their effort. That first semester will go by fast, and before you know it, we'll be up on Thanksgiving leave there at the end of November. Classes will end on 10 December, and then we're all going up to Philadelphia this year to beat Army. So that's December 12th. We look forward to seeing hopefully some of you there in Philadelphia. And if you can't make it to Philadelphia, I'm sure in all parts of the country you'll be watching that great game at home. They'll come back from Army and we'll go right into their first set of exams here, their first set of finals. And then by 22 December, once they take that last exam, they'll be cut loose on end of semester leave. And that's really the first chunk where they'll be able to spend a considerable amount of time away from the academy. And that leave period will go 22 December to 8 January. If their exams finish before 22 December and they don't have any other military obligations, they're essentially free to go on liberty upon completion of either their last exam or that last obligation that they have. And then the transformation continues. And as the superintendent pointed out, it's not just about getting to graduation, it's about getting to what's represented in these photos here. It's about that commission that lies on the other side of that great day in May of 2019. And the underlying idea that I'm going to talk about with the brigade next week is the continued relentless pursuit of excellence while they're here. We want them to be excellent midshipmen, but it's all with a purpose. And that purpose is to be ready to lead sailors and Marines into harm's way once they graduate. It's been an honor and a privilege to lead your children this summer. I promised you that I took seriously the responsibility to care for them. I think we've delivered on that. And I maintain that responsibility as we go into the academic year. I'm responsible for the discipline and the welfare of the brigade, and the next chapter is about to start. So congratulations. I look forward to seeing you in the hall this afternoon and seeing you out in town over this weekend. I'm going to be followed by the Vice Academic Dean, Dr. Boyd Waite, and he's going to talk to you about really that next chapter, the academic year, and a little bit more about the academic mission here at the Academy. Thank you.